Hey, welcome to Recovery 180 podcast. And today we got Dustin as our guest, all the way from Nova Scotia. And we've got a connection for a while there. Wagner Hills. He spent a bunch of time at Wagner Hills as one of the lead guys there. I'm not sure exactly what your official title was. I think you were kind of farm
Yeah.
manager or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you decided to do the crazy thing and move to Nova Scotia to work with the Helm, which is another recovery center. And that's now Soul Harbor Rescue Mission, right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so great to have you on board. We know you got a whole story behind you, so I wanted to introduce everybody, let everybody know kind of what you're up to. But why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got going in life and a few of the stories along the way.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thanks, Glenn, for having me on to this podcast. And I just my prayer before this was that yeah, you know, everybody's got a story, and hopefully that mine can bring hope uh, to maybe anybody that's struggling right now or doesn't
Hmm.
think it's possible to find um, a life full of purpose. But yeah, God's done that for me, and hopefully, this testimony can help somebody realize that. So
Hmm.
yeah, so I grew up in Alberta, a small town, and we lived in Millerville, Alberta, and my dad was a auctioneer at Odessa, a car auction. And my mom worked at a little tax store called Bar T5. And me and my sister, uh, we had a relatively normal upbringing,
Hmm.
so we thought. Looking back now, you can see where there may have been some dysfunction, but relatively it was fairly normal. I grew up
Hmm.
playing sports, riding dirt bikes, riding horses. My dad rodeoed for, close to 20 years.
Hmm.
And so we were busy during the summer going to different rodeos all over Canada. And that was kind of our life.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Now, my dad was an alcoholic. And so there's a lot of drinking that was going on in the
Hmm.
house. Um, so yeah, like I just remember being a young kid and seeing my dad drinking and the parties at at my parents' house or at the rodeo grounds, and just remembering like wanting to do that myself, like have a drink or try it because they looked like they're having so much fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but that was it. We moved from Millerville to a little town called Stavely when I was about 12 years old. And my dad and mom bought a auction market out in Stavely. So that's where people bring their cattle to sell them.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I remember leaving all my best and good buddies and moving out to somewhere where I didn't know it around 12 years old. So I was going into grade seven. That's that next fall there. And yeah, I went into a little school called Nanton, JT Foster School, and made some good friends. But soon, I fell into drinking.
Hmm.
Um,
So
I
do you think that
remember,
was, do you think part of that was because of the move? Because it was, you saw that, did you see that pretty dramatic were you pretty nervous at 12 years old to be changing, changing communities?
not too bad. Um, I think what kind of happened was I just I started experimenting. I got to that age where it was time to experiment, and my parents smoked, so I remember bumming some smokes and stealing them and smoking them with my
Hmm.
friends, and and stealing beer and drinking that, and something about it just brought out this different person. I was always kind of a shy, bit reserved, kid, and then when I drank, all that kind of fell off, and I just became this life of the party. And
Mm,
so
mhm,
it it just hooked me. That drinking just hooked me.
mhm.
Um, and looking back, I've been able to, kind of pinpoint a little bit of where things might have went wrong, and not necessarily wrong, but just like maybe where it started. And
Mhm. Mhm.
I never want to put the blame on my mom or dad, because I know that they did the best they could to raise my sister and I, with the tools that they had.
Mhm.
We all have
Yeah.
stuff. And so, but I think within the family, they were trying to figure out their own stuff too. Like my dad
Mhm.
was struggling with alcohol, and he was a functioning alcoholic, but it was still causing havoc within the household.
Mhm.
And so, but you know, I think there was a lack of intentional, heartfelt conversation.
Yeah. I
How
was
did
just,
you?
I was just, yeah, I was just wondering, like, did your parents realize when you were starting to get into some alcohol issues and some trouble in that way? Did they recognize that? And if they did they approach you about it, or was there that kind of discussion, or was it swept under the rug?
Yeah, it was. It was my mama always had a keen eye, I'm sure, watching me as I drank, because
Hmm.
she knew how my dad drank, and so I do remember them being pretty cautious with me, but allowing me to try it.
Hmm.
And I don't think I knew, especially in the early days, how bad it actually was. Because I would hide it pretty well.
How old would you have been at that point?
I was probably 13, 14 years old when I
So that
was.
so that started pretty well right after you moved then.
Yeah, it was pretty well right after I moved. Now, it wasn't super heavy. It was probably dealing some, drinking with some friends, uh, stuff like that on the weekend. And then about 15 years old is where it started getting a lot heavier.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had, typical kind of fall in love high school, sweetheart story, you know, and this is where, I mean, there was a lack of guidance, I feel like, from my parents in a sense. And I don't know if it was because they were just so busy doing their stuff, or if maybe I wasn't approaching them, or what had happened. But I literally thought this girl was the one that I was going to marry. So
Hmm.
when that didn't happen, and I found out, she was cheating on me, and that just, it just kind of tore me apart.
Right, right.
And I had nowhere really to go and figure that out. So I just, the only thing I knew was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what comforted me, at least for a little while, because it soon turned into this, I don't know, this evil that I just couldn't escape. And it became really dark when I got to, the end of the night when I was drinking. I'd just get really depressed and sad, and then I'd turn to, looking for other ways to get attention or other things. And so I would cut myself,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and most of the time I have to go to the hospital, get stitches or whatever. And so that was kind of the beginning of this, uh, my drinking history, I guess. and then it just got worse from there, really.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
you had been what age? What age then?
15
15.
when
Wow.
we broke up with that girl, and then it really just started going downhill. Yeah.
So how was that affecting school?
Well, it affected me, like I can remember it affected me in a way I'd never felt before. Like I and it sounds weird, but I mean, I wasn't eating, I couldn't focus. Like it really had a significant impact on my mental and physical health. But
Hmm.
again, I didn't know really how to do it. So I was still just going to school, showing up, do I just make sure that I'd get through it and pass. Uh, but I was still doing the same old things, playing hockey,
Hmm.
whatever, partying, but inside I was hurting. I was lonely. And that loneliness, that loss of hope, loss of purpose just started to kind of grow and grow as the years went by.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you probably felt like you had nobody that you could talk to that would understand you.
Yeah, I didn't know how to express those hurts that were going on inside of me, really.
Hmm.
The one way I could express it, especially when I was drunk, was to cut myself,
Right.
and it would show people physically that I was hurting, and that was just a way of me communicating that, like, even mentally and emotionally,
Hmm.
I'm hurting too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so your parents, like, were they aware of the cutting?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one time I was at home and drinking again. I was probably, I don't know, 15, 16. And, my mom was home. I don't know where her dad was. He might have been out at work. And, I'd cut myself again, and I was, walking to the bathroom or something, and there was just a trail of blood kind of like following on the floor, and I
Hmm.
didn't notice. But my mom, she noticed, and she just kind of just like, I remember her just kind of collapsing and sobbing. She it was basically like she just had enough. So I remember
Hmm.
her
Hmm.
calling her friends to come over and help, and it was a gong show. Every time I took a drink of that first drink, I couldn't tell you what the night would look like. It was usually just a mess, but I didn't know
Hmm.
what it would look like. So it was dangerous.
So did it get worse than that, or did it just stay at that level then for the next few years?
Basically, it just kept getting worse. I mean, the cuts got deeper in different scarier places.
Hmm.
Um, and the drinking, you know, became to be just a daily thing. And so, frequent visits to the hospital, um, getting stitches, my parents picking me up, um, and then that's kind of how it went until I graduated high school at 17. I moved out, got a job, and then kind of managed a bit better. I was working, um, but I was still drinking every day. Get home
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
work and I drink. But that was just my life. It was just work and party, work and
Hmm.
party. And then on the weekends, it was even party even harder.
Did you
Um,
ever have moments in all of that where you thought, I this isn't right. I need to change something. Did that ever cross your mind,
um,
or did you
there
just
was,
think this is the way life is going to be for me till the end?
well, I think, you know, especially getting closer to the end. And you know what? I remember knowing like I got to probably do something because you know, there was, it just wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And so I would have, I'd go weeks without drinking
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a couple months, but then I'd fall back right back into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't seem to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, by the
So I think
time I,
I'm
yeah,
just a question I have is like I'm surprised that the hospital, with the number of visits that you made to the hospital or even the school,
yeah,
was nobody aware of what was happening or nobody was stepping up. I'm surprised the hospital didn't say, "Hey, we've got something going on here that we should be looking at." Was that never, did they never ever approach you on that or your parents or?
hospital didn't. And it's funny you should say that. I remember going back to Alberta. This was probably 4 years ago, and a nurse came up. I didn't know who she was, but turns out she was a nurse. And this
Hmm.
lady came up to me, and she's like, she's crying, and she's just like, "I'm just so glad that you're doing okay." And I'm like, and she's like, "You probably don't remember me." I'm like, "I no, I'm sorry, I don't." She's like, "I was a nurse. I worked at the hospital, and I just remember seeing you all these times." And yeah, so
Hmm.
that really hit me there. But no, the nurses, like, the hospital never did anything. I do remember having sit down talks with my parents when they were like something needs to change, and this was probably when I was probably 18, 19, I would say now.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they're like, yeah, something's got to change, right? Because, they had been picking me up from the hospital, and they're like, yeah, we got to say something or do something. So
Yeah.
a lot of the timeline stuff is a blur to me still because there was just um, so much trauma. Honey, you got to go to bed, okay? Sorry, Georgie's
No,
just coming in.
that's okay.
Um, yeah, so I
So
mean,
the next few years then a little bit blurry, kind of a lot of the same.
yeah, it is a bit blurry. I mean, I remember some significant moments, um, but as for like when they happened in the timeline, I still am shocked when my parents tell me different snippets.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah,
So what sort of crossroad did you hit, or where did you get to where all of a sudden it's like, okay, now's the time, or did somebody step up to the plate, or
so
how?
basically, yeah, my parents had sat me down and or no, I had I had bought in a house, um, and I was living in this house and partying with my friends. And at that time, I'd been doing cocaine again, or uh, a lot more often,
Hmm.
as well as mushrooms and stuff like that. And I remember just one day I just didn't feel right, like mentally, like almost
Hmm.
like just something was off.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I and it was like really affecting me. So I remember I went home. I was laying on the couch, and I just told my mom everything. I told her that I'd been doing drugs and drinking a lot. Like, she knew I was drinking a lot, but and so at that was kind of almost like my breaking point where I just figured I needed to do something because I was sick
Hmm.
of living the way I was living. And so at that point in my life, I was actually like having a bit of like a drug induced psychosis. So I had to go on some medicine and kind of get my mind straightened out. And then I went out to my first recovery center, which was out in Fort Steele, BC. It was a recovery ranch or something like that
Hmm.
out in Fort Steele, BC. And it was one of those places that was very expensive, and it was like 45 days long. And I was still young. Um,
Hmm.
so anyhow, I did it. I completed it, and then I went back home, and nothing really changed. That's the thing. Sometimes we think that we can get different results if nothing changes, but
Hmm.
if nothing changes, nothing changes. So I
So
learned that lesson.
you knew that your desire and your addiction was still there when you left?
I didn't. I thought I was done with it.
Oh,
There
okay.
had been there had been multiple times in my life where I could say with 100% certainty that I was done with it.
Hmm.
But then weeks or months later, fall on my face.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I went back home, started working again, and yeah, ended up slipping up again, falling back into it. Um, Again, I thought I could still hang out with those old buddies and just be sober,
Hmm.
but you can only hang out at a barber shop so long before you get your hair cut. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like that
Exactly.
that's what happened. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so
So
I would yeah,
yeah, so you were sort of it was a roller coaster
it was a
after
roller
that. So
coaster.
did you get to a second spot in life where you felt, okay, maybe I need to go back into treatment, or what transpired there?
Yeah, so through this blur of a couple of years, um, I went to a few other places. I remember being in Anoka in their facility out there for a couple of days. I didn't like it, so I got out of that. I went to 1835 House in Calgary, their outpatient program. I completed that, and then I went to Fresh Start in Alberta, Calgary. They're inpatient for 3 months, and I didn't complete it. I went out drinking, and then after that, I remember it was after the Fresh Start program. I went back home. I was living with my parents, and I met this girl on Facebook. Um, and I remember it said people you may know, and then I seen her photo, and I didn't know her, but I wanted to know her, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah, good one.
I
Yeah.
messaged her, but and then basically we hit it off, and I really do think this was a God thing
Hmm.
that he brought Devin into my life for so much more, but she's my wife now, and
Hmm.
um, and so I met her, and I managed to stay sober for about 7 months while we were dating, and we just kind of hit it off right off the bat. Started hanging out, um, working together at the auction market, and life was good. but but then I started drinking,
Hmm.
and it was soon after that uh, things had to change again because I just couldn't manage. I couldn't manage. I was I think I drank once and everything was kind of fine and I went to bed, but then the next time I tried to drink, it was the ambulance was called, and so basically that second time was the first time Devin ever saw me drink, and that's where Devin's mom Sherry and this other lady named Kim come into the picture. And so Kim, she runs a recovery center for women in High River, and it's
Hmm.
called the Narrow Road Home.
Okay.
And Devin's mom, Sherry, works with Kim,
Hmm.
or had been working with Kim back then. And so basically, Devin's like, I think you need to talk to Kim and my mom.
Hmm.
And so I did. And and Kim was like, I know of a place that I think you should go, and it's called Wagner Hills. And I'm like, okay, where is it? And she's like, well, it's in BC. I'm like, well, how long do I got to go? And she's like, it's a year-long program. I'm like, oh no. But that was
And
kind of this
the longest you've done is 45 days.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, 3 months or just about 3 months was the longest. But
Oh,
this
okay.
was a
Yeah.
this was a lot longer, and so yeah, it was a that was the beginning of my walk with Jesus and my real restoration
So was
story.
there was that a turning point in your relationship also where uh your wife to be there said, did she say, well, you got to get your ducks in order here, or this relationship's not going any further, or did you have those kind of talks, or?
Yeah, she was really supportive, which was awesome.
Hmm.
Um, like really somebody I needed. But yeah, basically, she wasn't going to be with me if I kept doing what I was doing,
Hmm.
and I knew that. Bo, you got to get out, bud. Go on. She's not in here, son. I'm just talking to Mr. Glenn. Okay, I'll come and put you to bed soon. Sorry, Glenn.
No, no, that's okay. That's fine.
Um,
I can cut those little spots out.
okay. Um, yeah. So basically, she was. I remember being at Wagner, and I had kind of made up my mind. It was probably like 2 months in, 2.5 months, and I was ready to go. And
Hmm.
so I'd called her and I was telling her like, you know, um, I think I'm coming back and I'm excited to come back home. And she's like, well, if you do, you're not going to see me when you get back here, basically. And I'm like,
Hmm.
shoot, and so she really helped push me to keep doing what she knew I had to do,
Right.
even though it was hard for me. So yeah,
Hmm.
she supported me through it, which was what I needed.
So what was that first 2 months like at Wagner Hills for you?
Well, it was really hard. I mean, I grew up knowing of God, but no relationship with him. And so
Hmm.
what that kind of looked like, we would go to church, Christmas Eve, or maybe a little bit when we were kids, but church to me was old people and boring songs, and like that's what it was. So I like,
Hmm.
I would pray maybe some nights, but that was about it. And so when I went to
Hmm.
Wagner, it really opened my eyes to what Christianity was. And so I remember, yeah, like, at some points I thought, what the heck am I doing? Like, what kind of cult is this? If
Yeah.
I'm being honest, like it was like overwhelming.
Hmm.
Um, but then there were other times where I'm like, there's something amazing to this, like
Hmm.
I had I I had a pretty cool experience. Like I wanted to leave quite a bit when I was at Wagner. I thought I was ready to go. I wanted to get out and go to work. I was had some fear of missing out going on. Like I wanted to just like get back at it, and I just couldn't stop my mind. Right?
Hmm.
It was pulling me out of there. And so I remember, um, I think it was a Sunday or something. The pastor was talking about Matthew 6:33, and that's I think it's seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and He'll give you everything else that you need.
Hmm.
And I'm like, as I'm thinking about going out and working and getting all this stuff, God's saying, no, like just seek me and my kingdom and my righteousness, and I'll look after you. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the next day, um, that evening class, that it was on the same thing. I think it was Andy Stanley or somebody talking about Matthew 6:33 again.
Hmm.
And I'm like, it's all new to me. I'm like, maybe that's a coincidence or something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so on life goes. And the next day's work program. And again, I'm just in my head, wanting to leave, worrying about the future and all the other things. And I was ripping drywall out of one of the buildings. And underneath the drywall, written on one of the 2x4s, was Matthew 6:33.
No.
And it was just like God was hitting me over the head with the 2x4. And he's just telling me, just keep focused on where I have you right now, what I'm doing in my kingdom, and I'm going to give you everything else you need. And,
Hmm.
um, and that's been so true in my life, looking back these past 10 years, on just how faithful he is. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, we're about 8 minutes from the end, but just yeah. So speed that up a little bit. Tell me how things finished off at Wagner Hills and how that 1 year program was for you in the end.
Yeah. Okay. Um, well, Wagner Hills, that's where I met Jesus. And really, he's the one who started changing my heart and my mind. And that looked like, you know, that relationship looked like me waking up early, spending time in his word, journaling, and just seeking him in all that I did. And
Hmm.
as that was kind of a little lesson that Pastor Jason gave me. And it was just get up early and stick close to him, and there's safety in that. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. And so I graduated Wagner, um, the 1 year program. The day I graduated was the day I left. Went back to Alberta December 10th. Oh, yeah, around December 10th. And then Devin and I got married January 1st. So it wasn't long after when I got back, we got married. And we just started doing life together. We were back in Alberta, married, and we were trying to get into this house that we were about to buy. And I just got back into the welding shop. I was a journeyman Red Seal welder. Devin was working. Um, I had all the worldly things. I had a truck. I had the Harley Davidson, um, and life, seemed to be going pretty well. But
Hmm.
it was probably about actually no, sometime through that, Jason Roberts had texted us and was just like, he was kind of seeing how we were doing, but he also was thinking that we should move back out to BC and go and work for Wagner. And so Devin and I, we basically prayed on that for about 2 years. And like I said, we were about to buy the house and all this stuff, but I felt like there's got to be something more than just um, living for all that stuff. And
Hmm.
so we ended up saying yes. We had prayed about it, and really, really felt like God was saying, "Yeah, go ahead, go and do it." And so we did. And so we ended up out at Wagner for about 7 years working for them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. So
yeah,
what did you guys both had roles there, did you not?
yeah. So um, basically, when I ended at Wagner, I was the director of operations, and Devin was the agriculture manager. So she was
Hmm.
looking after all the animals and stuff like that.
So what did it feel like for you to be in a leadership role at a place that you didn't want to go to at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was so surreal when we first got there and started working. Um, there was this purpose that had came to me that I'd never felt before, like
Hmm.
being able to to use my dark, crappy past to help others out of it,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's just nothing like it. And so
Mm-hmm.
once I kind of caught on to that, it was just an amazing adventure with the Lord.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
something I
then,
wouldn't
so how,
change.
yeah, so then how did the shift, since we only got a few minutes left, how did the shift to Nova Scotia happen?
Well, through working at Wagner, Devin and I always say we're not leaving until God asks us to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, an opportunity came up. I remember Jason asked me, he's like, "Would you ever want to go out east and work for the helm?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I'd have to pray about it." So that's what we did. We prayed
Yeah.
for another,
And that's
basically.
another recovery center.
Yeah, the helm's another men's recovery center out here in Nova Scotia, and basically 2 years went by, and then we both had prayed for it about it, and we said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we've been out here for just about 10 months, and God's helped us get a house, and and now yeah, now I get to keep doing this, the same thing I was doing out there, but out here on the East Coast.
And you just had a new addition to your family.
Yeah. So we have Georgia, who's my girl, and she's 6. We have Bo, who's 4 years old, and then we have Brooks, who is brand new.
Brand new. Yeah.
Yeah. So so it's
So
it's yeah.
it's been a great ride. So like as we wind down here, what would be your advice for those that maybe have walked kind of in the same shoes as you, or what kind of encouragement would you throw out there for those that are maybe watching that are still in addiction?
I would just say hold on, you know. Uh, um, there is hope, and God has a really good plan. I know it's hard to see it or hard to believe it, but if we are able to surrender one day to Him and see what He can do with it, and just do that day by day, He's just got this great adventure for us. If
Hmm.
we're willing, if we're willing to say yes and believe that He does have this life of purpose for us, and it's better than anything we've ever done. So keep holding on and seeking Him, and He will guide you. He will.
Yeah, cool. Well, you've got that verse that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. That's been your guidance, and I know that
Right.
your words and your story are going to be huge for those that are watching. And I just hope a lot of people plug in. Continue to do the good work out there. You're now with Soul Harbor Rescue Mission. I guess they've kind of taken over the helm, but you're
Yeah.
still working with men in recovery, and that's great. So we love the connection between Wagner Hills and us out west and you guys out east. I think that's just the way God wants to work, right? So
Yeah.
thank you very much, Dustin, for taking time. And it's great to have the children coming in and out. I might have to leave that in, you know. So
Yeah.
so
That's
so
good.
yeah. So
That's
thank
good.
you for taking time and being on the Recovery 180 podcast. Look forward to chatting again.
No worries, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah.